Howdy, gang. Can you hear me yet? Yes, all right, there we go. Thanks for the mic. So we don't have a tremendous amount of time, and I do have a lot that I'd love to tell you about. But one of the things that I always like to do is to make sure that my presentations are online, and this one is as well. So I'll give you the URL at the end. It's bit.ly/story of Moz. I also tweeted it under the hashtag. But what I want to spend some time on is talking about, on reflection, things that I would change, things I would keep the same, and things I don't yet know. Can I, just to set the tone, how many of you are moderately familiar with Moz? Moderately familiar with Moz. Okay, so not very many people. Great, that's phenomenal, awesome. I mean that, no, like, that is wonderful to know that there's lots of people to still reach. So in 2001, I dropped out of college to work with my mom. She was, my mom Jillian, who was founded a small business doing consultancy for marketing and advertising. And I was the web designer. So it's just me and her. I was building websites. And I was pretty excited about this. I didn't have a college degree, but I loved building websites. I thought that was super fun. Fast forward a few years, and we were deeply, horrifically in debt. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Rand, why weren't you practicing lean methodology? Well, maybe if Eric had written his book like 7 years earlier, we could have done that. But he was busy in college or high school, I don't know. Regardless, we were deeply in debt, like horribly in debt, like guys with, huge chests that were very hairy and gold chains coming to the office asking if I was Rand Fishkin, and I told them no. Because they're really scary and they're debt collectors, and you know what? Anyway, we managed to dig out of that debt, mostly through the power of SEO. So I started doing some SEO consulting and started a blog called CEO of Moz, which some of you might be familiar with, and then that transformed into Moz and into a software business in 2007. We raised some funding, about $1 million in 2007, and then another round in 2012. And today, Moz is a 42, 43-ish million dollar a year business with about 35,000 customers all over the world. So it's been a relatively exciting journey, but also one fraught with peril and hard times and tough shit, right? Like can I also walk down here? I like it better down here. Is that okay with you guys? All right, cool. Okay, so some things that I would change. First off, I wish, because software engineering was at the core of what Moz does, right, is to build software that tries to mimic how search engines work and then show people how they can improve their websites. By never learning software engineering, like, okay, I could write a few lines of PHP, but that is not the same thing. I could not effectively understand why a developer was telling me that a project would take 6 weeks, and whether that was a phenomenal estimate that there's no way that person could possibly do it in, or whether I was getting totally sandbagged. And that is extremely frustrating. I think if something's at the core of your business, you as a founder need to have an understanding of it. Okay, now I see you craning your necks, so I'll go back up here. I'm sorry. It just feels like all right. Second, I grew out my beard tremendously long during a spate of depression that I wrote about. Many of you might have read about. I wish I had spent some time at other startups. I was talking to Matt, our next speaker, backstage, and was saying, and Dan as well from PC Magazine, and we were talking about how startups often feel like a video game. So you know how the first time you play a video game, all the bad things that can happen to your character or your player seem to happen. But then the next time you play it through, you've kind of learned all those steps, right? You've learned the missteps and the problems and the things you're going to face, and that is awesome. I wish I had been able to do that. Moz is the only place I have ever worked in my adult life. That's pretty weird. I wish I could change that. Third, one of the weird things about Moz is if you sign up for a free trial, unlike most software as a service businesses, if you sign up for a free trial at Moz, no one will really contact you. Actually, That's now changing, but for the last 8 years, that was not the case, right? We did not have anyone reach out to you. There was no customer success or onboarding team. Given what I have seen in early tests of a customer success and onboarding team, I would change that immediately. Granted, Moz is a very low cost. It's like $99 is the base subscription price. But still, having a customer success team is high ROI because of the lifetime value you get from that. I would have pushed, and I still try and push my investors to be tougher with me. This is Michelle Goldberg over here on the right-hand side with her husband. Michelle was our first investor from Ignition Partners in Seattle. That's Brad Feld over on the left-hand side. I know he kind of looks like the Big Lebowski, but he is a phenomenal and awesome investor. Michelle is a phenomenal and awesome investor. They've been tremendously helpful, but I always felt like they were letting me learn my own mistakes, right? And make my own mistakes. And I sort of just wanted to be like, hey, how about you just tell me what to do? Like, I know you know. I know you know. Can you just tell me? Just this once. And I think harsher feedback can be very helpful for entrepreneurs. Oh, God. I'm going to get in trouble for this one. So I kind of hate MVPs. I think they suck. I know what you're thinking. I just came to the Lean Startup Conference, and this weirdo with a mustache is on stage telling me that he doesn't like MVPs. Here's the problem. Whenever we've launched something that is minimally viable, and we have many times over the years, it has reached an audience and then created the expectation that we have a crappy version of what they need. And that sucks. It really sucks. And so therefore, over the past few years, things that I've been doing, like we launched a new tool earlier this year called Keyword Explorer, and I delayed it. It was supposed to launch in January. I delayed it until May to build a crap ton more features and widgets, like against all the advice that you might read about in classic Lean Startup methodology, because I wanted it to wow people from day one. And I think it did. I think it was much more effective than a lot of the things that we've launched previously. I would hire less, hire fewer people. I would focus more. I would build fewer things. I think one of the things that is definitely true about my personality is I just love, I look out there in the marketplace and I go, oh, we could build one of those. We have all the data and tools to do it. Let's do it. That's pretty terrible. We really need to focus. I wish we had. In addition to hiring less, I would have paid more for fewer but proven hires, especially early on. I think as you get larger, Moz is 160-ish people now. It's totally fine for us to hire junior people and build them up, but that was the wrong move, I think, early on. I would have gone for more senior folks, paid them more. Another thing. Some of you may know that Moz, for the first time ever in its history, did some layoffs in August. That was painful. It sucked. I'm happy to answer any questions about it if you want to come talk to me. I've written about it publicly as well. It's terrible. Please never do that. But one of the causes, one of the catalysts for that was trying to invest in multiple products and assuming that doing multiple products would be just as easy as doing a single product in a company. That is just not the case. All right, last one here. I would sell early. So Eric was very kind and introduced me to his agent, and now I'm writing a book. So I will include some stuff about this sale offer in the book. But Moz did get one offer to sell once, a very serious one, one that would have made me very wealthy. And I don't have a car. I walk to work. I still rent an apartment with my wife. I wish I had taken that offer. I know that's kind of crazy to say. Like, I wish I had taken that offer. And that was at a time when Moz was going from like 5 million to 10 million in revenue. And now we're at 40, and you're thinking, wait, you have accomplished so much. No, I really do. I wish I had sold. I think that was a mistake. I beat myself up a lot for that one. Some things I'd keep the same. First off, my wife, Geraldine, who's been a huge part of my life and a huge part of Moz's business. Geraldine actually wrote Tag fee, Moz's core values. Geraldine has been, for those of you who know me personally, you probably also know Geraldine, right? Chances are good because I'm kind of codependent. And she has been the best part of my life, and the best part of Moz has been keeping her and lots of other wonderful people in there. Speaking of tag fee, our core values, that is something that I personally hold extremely dear and would keep absolutely. I think I will keep them no matter where I go in the future, wherever that might be. We do something unique at Moz that many companies do on their engineering teams only, and that is to have separate tracks for individual contributors and people managers. And I am actually on the individual contributor track since stepping down as CEO about 2.5 years ago. And this has been hugely important because it has told some of our best, most productive, highest quality folks in customer service, in finance, on our help team, on our SEO team and our marketing team, that they can advance their career, advance their pay, advance their stock options, advance their influence without having to manage people. And I strongly believe in that. I would do that again. Moz also did marketing first and product second. Right? I built this blog, and then I happened to build a product that was right for all these people who were reading this blog. I would do that again. I love the marketing first approach. I think building up that community has great advantages when you are actually researching your product. It's going to be so much easier the next time I need to build something. I did something weird a few years ago. I swapped lives with a friend of mine, Will Reynolds, founder of Seer Interactive, which is an SEO agency out in Philadelphia. I lived in his house, I walked his dog, I went to his office and served as CEO of his company. Someone even resigned to me that week. Like one of his employees, right, took me out for coffee. He was like, well, boss, I'm quitting. It was mighty awkward, but it was awesome. It was an awesome experience. And he went to Moz and lived in my house and my apartment and walked to work, right? And it was an awesome experience because it gave us true empathy for each other's lives. And I think that is a wonderful thing. I would replicate that time and time again for businesses. This is going to be a weird one because half one way, half the other. I would raise money again for Moz the first time. But if I do another startup, I hope not to raise money. And those two things might sound antithetical to one another. The reasoning here is I know myself, and I know that I would always perceive that the grass was greener on the funded side of things, and that I would never view myself as a real entrepreneur if I hadn't done it. Because tragically, and I think in a bullshit way, our community, our startup and technology culture uses the word lifestyle business pejoratively. And that is crap. That is a total load of crap. I can't disagree with it more. I think it is just as amazing and awesome to build a one-person company that makes you enough money to do the things that you want in your life and for your family and for your friends as it is to build a $50 or $100 million company or a $500 million company. So that's my attitude on this. I would raise money again for Moz, though. I also am really glad that I picked this weird sector, SEO, that a lot of startups and investors did not choose. I was noting the other day, we were having an exec team meeting, that I think there's like more than 100 companies that do content marketing software that have received funding in the last 5 or 10 years. I can't name more than 5 SEO software companies that have ever received funding in my whole tenure in the SEO field. Because SEO is just so badly perceived. And I love that. I think that is a true competitive advantage for us. All right, last, some mysteries I don't yet know the answer to. One of the things I don't yet know the answer to is whether this life that many of us have, this life of, I've chosen, my wife and I have chosen not to have kids, right? We don't have the family and friend relationships that many people in the world do have because I don't, have the time, right? I'm one of those people who's very addicted to my work, and I don't know whether that is the right decision. I'm not sure. I think we'll find out. I don't have a time to tell you Michael Cotham's story, but we'll get through that. I don't know yet whether I was very lucky in my early days or whether I'm actually any good at designing software. And so I continue to challenge myself to be like a key designer on this stuff. I also don't know whether it was the right move to do self-service versus enterprise. That's something I'm really interested in. By the way, this document is phenomenal from a podcaster who assembles all the metrics that have been shared with him by SaaS entrepreneurs. And I don't know about acquisitions versus build it in-house yourself. Moz has completed, I think, 6 acquisitions now. And I would say a couple of those didn't go great, and a couple of them seem to be going really well, and a few are in the middle. But that's a tough one that I think only years will prove out. And then finally, last but not least, I make work, you can probably tell, I make work very personal. I make Moz very personal. And as a result, tough things happen. I mentioned layoffs. Geraldine and I lost friends in that layoff process. That sucks, right? That's a choice that you make. It's a choice that you make whether you want to involve those two worlds, and I don't know whether I made the right one. I'm going to urge you to make your own 3 lists. Things you would change, things you'd keep the same, things you don't yet know the answer to. I think this is a powerful process for anyone in our world. And with that, thank you so much.
I'm asking Rand to stay because the journalist in me can't help but ask, because I could have sworn I was listening when you were talking about how you rejected an offer early on to sell when you're going from 5 million to 10 million, and you wish you had taken it even though Moz is now 40 million. You didn't quite explain why, unless I missed it, but I didn't hear the answer. Did you guys hear why? Okay, I'm curious. I have to know. I can't, just quickly.
Sure.
So we can move on.
Yeah, that's fair. A bunch of reasons, but a few of them are the certainty versus the unknown. It's very hard living in the world of not knowing what might happen with your company. And even at $42 million and thousands of customers, there's always the chance that things could go south, right? And I think that risk stays with you. It's also the case that the company who made the offer made a primarily stock offer and then went public 2 years later. So the offer would have been a lot more than it actually was. And I still know the people who work there, and I still love them, and I kind of wish I got to work with them. So those are 3 of them. I think the other reason is that it would give me the ability to go try again. Like I mentioned that video game analogy. I loved playing new levels as Moz, but I kind of want to try a different character at some point. And so those are the reasons. Thank you so much for having me.